Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we use L to snake around a discussion of Snake Pass. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. How's it going, Mark?
Hey, it's going pretty good. How are you, Patrick?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I would put myself in the all right category.
It seems like that's just sort of the way of the week, right? We're in like an all right week when no one's like overjoyed. And no one's like, well, what was that? You think maybe someone is overjoyed?
Well, I'm sure somebody out there is having a good week.
Well, good for them.
Oh, woohoo.
What a sarcastic woohoo.
That's the sort of negativity we like to start this podcast off on, right?
Hey, well, let's switch gears then to the weather. Nice and cool.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
Absolutely lovely.
Wonderful weekend. It was like sunny, but not too hot. I went for a hike on Saturday. I went for a hike this weekend. And it was glorious.
I feel like I can usually find something to complain about in the weather, but this week, no complaints.
No complaints in the weather, which of course is good news.
That is good news.
Mark, I think we've got a little debugging to do.
Yeah, a little bit.
Why don't you go ahead and lead us off with this one?
All right. We're Monster Hunter XX, right? We've been going back and forth.
We've been calling it all kinds of things.
We've been calling it just absolute nonsense.
Right. We've been calling it Monster Hunter 20, which is obviously not right. Monster Hunter 2X.
Monster
XX.
Hunter Cross.
Right.
So it turns out it's Monster Hunter Double Cross, which of course it is.
Now, my question here is there, the answer is obviously no, but is there any like actual double crossing that goes on in the game?
I don't know. I haven't played it. Maybe a monster double crosses you. Maybe one of those little cat things double crosses you.
That would be the ultimate
in double crosses.
Yeah, because you'd never expect it. You'd be
being
like,
double crossed by a cat is.
I mean, that's predictable in real life. Because you know that your cats are out
they're wily creatures.
Right. But the cats in Monster Hunter, they like rummage through the monsters and like get you resources.
They seem adorable.
Right.
Maybe in this game, they rummage through things and then they take your resources and give them to the monsters.
You heard it here first. The cats in Monster Hunter Double Cross are going to double cross you at some point. Play the game long enough.
Yep. And if you play that game, you play it for, I don't even care, hundreds of hours, and you don't see a cat double cross you.
Yeah, you have not 100%ed this game.
You have played this game wrong. These cats are double crossers, and that, my friends, is headcanon.
That's right. That's headcanon that you can take to the bank.
So that's this week's debug.
Mark, what you been playing, video game wise?
Breath of the Wild.
Still.
Yep.
We're gonna be saying that forever, right?
Yeah, probably.
Did you get some like? I know you had a lot of meaty playing time last weekend. Did you have more of that kind of time this week?
No, sadly.
Oh,
maybe
no.
that's why this week feels unfulfilling so far. Albeit it is Monday.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's yeah, Monday, man. Why are we doing this on Monday? Why do we record this? You, dear listener, have the advantage of listening to this on Tuesday.
Oh, blessed you must be.
Yeah, from the glorious vistas of Tuesday, you can look out to the valley below and see the rest of the week as it unfolds before you. But here, we have not yet crested the peak of the week.
So to answer your question,
yes,
very little Breath of the Wild this week. Just a few shrines here or there.
I, on the other hand, ended up playing a lot of Breath of the Wild this weekend. Weekend. My Friday night, I started playing around 7:30 or 8 o'clock, like right after dinner. and I had one of those where I kept like giving myself a time limit and being like, okay, at 11 you're gonna turn it off and go to bed. At 11:30 you're gonna turn it off and go to bed.
Oh man, you're just lying to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I have no problem lying to myself in this scenario. And it was well after 1 o'clock by the time I actually packed it up and turned it in. And it was this is really the first time that I feel like I've put in work on story missions. So I actually went ahead and finished the Divine Beast that I had started earlier, the Zora one. And then just sort of hung out in Zora's domain doing all of and like I don't think I'd really wrapped my head around it before, that like when you get to a new village or a new town, like you can just sort of go around to everyone and talk to them and get missions. And so I did that for a long time.
Have you met this hot Zora that everybody, is that the prince?
Sidon?
Or I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I just know him as Hot Zora.
Yeah. So if that's the prince, is he hot so much as he is like super confident? Have you seen this? There's a parody of the song Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, but set to Sidon.
Oh no, that's funny.
Yeah, it's cute. So I mean, I guess spoilers for that part of Breath of the Wild, or that part of Beauty and the Beast,
or that part of that YouTube video.
That's right. I guess that's the whole video. Yeah. So I did that, and then I made my way to the Lost Woods.
I'm sorry, you stealthily avoided that question.
Which question?
I don't even know. Did I pose it?
The hot Zora?
Yeah, the hot Zora. That question.
I don't know if he's the hot Zora. I know people are also talking about the Lady Zora. That's like the champion of the Zoras.
And which one did you find hotter?
Oh, geez. Of the repulsive fish monsters, I would say that I found. This is tough. I'll say Sidon. The prince is the hotter of the two Zoras, if for no other reason that the princess is a child. So
I think that's a good reason.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Although that King Zora, he's like a giant frog, basically. All the rest of the Zoras get to be fish, but when you rise to that level of royalty, you become a frog. I did the like side mission in Zora's domain where you piece together all of their history. They have these 10 different slabs like carved into the stone all around Zora's domain, and there's one historian that's like, go and find all these for me. And if you don't know exactly where they are, he's like, it's east of the dam, or whatever. West of the dam is actually was one of them. And one of these stone tablets tells about Prince Ruto and his adventures with Link during Ocarina of Time. So like the events of Ocarina of Time are legend in the world of Breath of the Wild. Which I just found to be incredibly cool, and I got like very excited and like, got super excited, nerdy about like Zelda continuity, even though I know it's all nonsense. But so yeah, I sort of fell in love with the game over the weekend, and just am very happy with it.
Yeah, I'm still kind of making my way towards. I'm at a save point where I saved right before I'm like, okay, I'm going to dive into. No pun intended. Like
no, it's too late. You made the pun.
Into the Zora Kingdom.
Yeah.
Because where I ended up saving was like on top of the tower that's really close to there.
Oh yeah.
Where that one Zora is like, if you want, you can go down there. I mean, there's lots of them that do that.
Right.
But like, go talk to the prince over there. Tell him I sent you.
Guh.
They're all really goofy.
They're all real dopey.
But yeah, not much time put into it this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be coming back and sharing Zelda stories on every episode forever, probably. We've also been playing, of course, the original Legend of Zelda, and you can hear the conclusion to our adventures in that version of Hyrule this Thursday. As we gorily destroy Ganon.
Oh yeah, definitively.
Yes. I don't know if you guys remember the end of The Legend of Zelda, but like, man,
it's pretty great.
Caught us by surprise.
Caught us by surprise, for sure.
But you can hear more about that on Thursday. And then we've also been playing Snake Pass, which we will talk about in depth once we get to our topic. Right? We don't want to tease that anymore?
Nah.
Mark, let's move into the news.
Switch is getting Cave Story Plus on June 20th for $30. It's going to have both a physical and a digital release. Along with upgraded HD graphics, the game will have 7 play modes such as Wind Fortress and Boss Rush, more than 20 boss battles, 15 levels, 10 unique weapons, and 4 unique endings.
So I think I need a little refresher on what Cave Story is.
It's okay, I've never played it.
All right, great.
This is a game that is highly regarded, has been out on a lot of platforms for a very long time.
Released
but it's
in 2004 originally on the PC. Sorry, I looked it up while you were explaining.
Yeah. And it's one of those indies that people really, really love, and so they buy it on basically every new platform it comes out on. I think it's a like side-scrolling platformer of sorts.
Yeah, that looks consistent with what I'm with very like kind of detailed pixel art. The characters are very simplistic, but it looks like there's a lot of visual information on the screen at any given point.
So just like the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, this will have a physical release as well, which I know people are really excited about. And the June 20th date, I'm assuming, is worldwide, but I don't know that is 100% true.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to call into question. Even with this thing being region free, though, right? Like you could switch it to the Japanese store.
You totally could for the eShop. I'm just like the physical edition.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Another indie, The Fall Part 2 Unbound, is officially announced for Switch and is no longer planned for Wii U.
I feel like most games that were in development for Wii U, we should no longer expect to see them on the Wii U.
You would think that there are still some that are like, oh yeah, we are planning on getting it out later in 2017.
The Wii U games?
Yeah, which I don't know. I guess if it was like a Kickstarter stretch goal or like a Kickstarter goal and you promised and people backed it, with like the promise that it's on Wii U, and like your game originally came out in 2015 and people have been waiting for it to come out, I guess it makes sense to honor that. But I totally agree that it feels weird, especially by the end of 2017.
Yeah.
To still have your indie game coming out on Wii U.
I guess if it's already been out on other platforms, that sort of makes sense. But like obviously anything new like Bloodstained or Yooka-Laylee or any of that stuff, forget about your Wii U versions of it.
Well, I also feel like it depends on what engine you built it on.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, or maybe not a lot of times, but sometimes, like the developers are making basically a unique Wii U version if all the other versions use like Unreal 4.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas now it'd be much easier for them to put it onto Switch because they wouldn't have to make I mean, that was what was happening with like Bloodstained, I think, was they were using an engine that wasn't supported on the Wii U, so they were going to have to make but like a completely different Wii U version.
A really weird one.
Just like gross and uncomfortable. So The Fall, I was not familiar with part 1, but it seems to be like a Metroidvania mixed with point and click adventure games.
Interesting.
And by appears to be, that's basically cribbed exactly from their PR. So if it's wrong, blame it on the developers.
Blame it on Over the Moon Games.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if that's the developer, but yeah, why not?
I mean, again, I'm looking these things up as you explain them to me. Yeah, it looks kind of cool.
Another indie game, Party Golf, is coming to Switch. Developer Giant Margarita made the announcement on Twitter. Party Golf is like a 1 to 8 player couch co-op like golf game with procedurally generated terrains, over 100 included play modes, power-ups, etc. So to my mind, the simplest way to explain it, This seems like it's like almost like a Mario Kart version of golf.
Like Mario Golf?
No, more fun.
Oh, okay. Have you ever been able to get into a golf video game?
Nah.
I tried with the Mario Golf on the 3DS. At some point, it was on sale for like $12, and I bought it. And it turns out that no matter how you dress it up, it's still golf.
I mean, I actually think the closest I got was in Wii Golf.
Yeah, okay.
Like, that's the most golf that I've ever played in video game form. Well, or in general, unless we count mini golf.
Right, and I don't think you can count mini golf because mini golf, unlike golf, is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. I golfed one summer.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's all right. I won a trophy for being the best to get out of the sand trap or something.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Patrick's the worst at this. Let's at least say he's the best at getting the ball out of the sand trap.
Mm-hmm.
It was like we had a day of like events, and one of the events was like chipping out of the sand trap.
I'll be honest, I would love to like go golfing, but I would have to go with someone who would tolerate my complete ignorance and idiocy.
I mean,
right? Like, because it's like,
yeah.
I would want to go to like try it and hit the ball around, but I couldn't go with someone who's like actively trying to perform well.
The thing is, I think golf is one of those activities where most people that do it are very bad at it. And the people who are good at it are seen as the jerks, right? The people are like, no, we're golfing today. Everyone else is like, Mark Twain said that, like, I think it was Mark Twain. Let's assume that it is. It's folksy and American sounding, so I'm going to say that it is. That golf is the waste of a good walk. That, like, you just want to be outside. You want to be in that space, and like have a physical day. And someone's gonna get super competitive about hitting a ball near a hole, but like you don't have to. just knock it around a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
But the walking around in nature part is never part of a video game version of golf.
Right.
They just skip you right there. Skip you to where the ball is.
So I've actually never really played Mario Golf. Is it like Mario Kart? Like, is it? It's like hyper realistic. Like, are there power ups?
Yes, there are power ups.
Oh, okay.
And obviously there are Mario characters. There are like floating platforms. There are like question blocks that you can hit and make other things happen. But I mean, at the heart of it, it's still like the wind is blowing this way, and the gradient here is up 12 degrees, and the hole is this many feet away. So like, I don't know, it all becomes a sort of
like, no matter how you dress it up.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how many piranha flowers you put into it, it's still golf.
Yeah, so your mileage may vary.
Yes.
So without getting too pervy.
Oh.
And and Lord knows there are hundreds of websites online dedicated to this question.
I cannot wait to hear what you're going to ask me.
What kind of underwear do you think Mario's sporting?
Oh, Mario. I feel like Mario is a traditionalist with an older sensibility, so he probably thinks that white boxer shorts with red polka dots on them, he probably thinks that's real funny.
Oh, yeah, I bet he thinks that's real funny.
You know what's not so funny, Mario? That you need to dress for comfort. I guess it's not particularly unfunny.
It's neutral funny.
It's neutral funny. Like MacWeldon.com. Mack Weldon sells comfortable underwear. They sell comfortable socks. They sell comfortable shirts. They sell comfortable hoodies and shorts.
I've been wearing some Mack Weldon stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to say, it genuinely feels good.
Right.
Like, not just like, this is a commercial.
Which it is.
But like, no, it actually...
Right.
I really like it.
I like it too. It was easy to buy. To the extent that all things on the internet are easy to buy. You click a couple times, you enter your credit card information. No, not unduly confusing. No, and if you enter our promo code DIGIT, we have a promo code Nintendo. That's not that whole thing. Just Nintendo is the promo code. You can save 20% on your order at McWeldon at checkout. So just enter that promo code. They know then that we sent you. You save 20%, and then you get some soft underwear.
It's MacWeldon.com, promo code Nintendo. HAL Laboratories developed various parts of the Switch system, which is interesting because HAL Laboratories is usually not known for working directly on Nintendo hardware.
Yeah, that is. So is it hardware stuff that they worked on, or like the operating like software stuff?
It seems like it's not the hardware itself, but it's more than just the consumer facing operating system, because they did work on that, like the web browser component, which is used for the eShop and connecting your Nintendo account to your Switch and stuff like that, the Mii library. But they also apparently developed the game development environments and the game development tools.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really sounds like Nintendo called in reinforcements, like everybody they could,
right?
In order to get this out the door.
And Capcom was like, "We need more RAM in this thing." Yeah, that is interesting. It seems like this machine has a little bit more of a "Hey, everyone, help us out. Everybody get in here," kind of a approach to it, which I think is good. It seems like a more competent machine than what we've seen out of Nintendo lately.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, speaking of so Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, there was a patch released this past week, 1.1.1, and it seems to have increased frame rates. So there were frame rate improvements in trouble spots before, and this seems to mostly be in docked mode.
Yes,
where the problems were showing up for people
when it's upscaling to the 980p.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
or 960, whatever it is. I noticed that particularly in the Lost Woods, when you get to the Korok village in there are whenever there's a bunch of blades of grass on screen that are waving around, I feel like then it starts to chug a little bit.
Yeah, the most noticeable for me was there, and also by the Temple of Time on the plateau.
Yeah,
it would kind of chug a little bit. I haven't gone back to those areas since the patch to compare, and it was never. I'm not really much of a I don't care that much about frame rate drops and things like that, as long as they don't really detract from the experience, and I never felt like they were a big enough problem to detract from it.
See, I would see it and would feel a little bit of the immersion breaking in moments like that, and it never bothers me when I'm playing a an NES game and there are too many enemies on screen, and so it gets slow down. That almost feels like it's adding to the drama of the moment, where it's
slow motion.
So yeah, and the system and I are struggling at the same time, but when it's just trying to calculate blades of grass, I'm I don't feel that same stress, so it doesn't totally work for me. But it's interesting that that's never, or I've never experienced that in Breath of the Wild, where I'm being attacked on all sides by moblins and a guardian's bearing down on me, and that's why it slows down. It's only ever there's too much grass on screen.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Speaking of blades of grass in Breath of the Wild, there is at least one side quest that I did that basically just amounted to me walking around outside of a village and cutting down blades of grass so I could get a cricket.
You could get the
so
crickets,
I get 10 crickets
Restless
or something.
Cricket.
Restless crickets. And that was definitely my least favorite part of the game so far, even though it was just a side quest, so I could have stopped at any time. But that gamer completionist part of my brain kicked in, and oh, I'm gonna do this, but just walking around slicing grass and then having to do what felt like so much in order to just get 10 restless crickets.
Yeah,
that was the kind of open world side quest filler that's don't
your
really like.
Coyote skins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only been one side quest so far, but that was the one side quest I was ugh. It, it's just one of those boring fetch quest type things that doesn't really have any. There's nothing, that particular component of it, there was nothing really interesting to it. It was just like, okay, I'm just gonna stand out here and do this mindless action until I collect a arbitrary number of like an item.
Yeah. Do you ever think about because I do this for some of them, and for others I do what you just did of like go out and seek out the 10 things. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna go out into the world when if I will keep an eye out for this thing, but otherwise I'll just wait until I probably have enough. Like there was a Zora kid that wanted 10 hot-footed frogs, and I had like 8, and I was like, whatever, I'll come back later. And then I did, and I remembered, and I went back, and I got whatever he was going to give me.
I think that's probably a better way to play it. I feel like
Let me just tell you how to play the game, Mark.
No, I think you're right. I actually think it speaks to like just my general psychology. For real, where I in life am in such like a worrier that I'm going to like forget things.
Mm-hmm.
And so like to me it's just like, I'm gonna do this now so I don't worry about forgetting it later.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe
over something that is
pointless.
We don't need to diagnose myself in the news section of our Nintendo podcast. But your point is well taken.
Next news item, Mark is insane.
Unity 5.6 was also released this past week with official support for Nintendo Switch. So Unity is the game engine. This affects my life not at all, except I guess other than some cool games might come. Yeah. So Snipper Clips and Super Bomberman R and possibly some other games that have already been released used Unity, but with official support, any developer can release titles they've developed in Unity on the Switch.
As with many of these sorts of news items, I just hope it means more games coming to this thing.
Absolutely. So we played some Snake Pass. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later. One thing that was missing from the Switch version of Snake Pass was time trials.
Weird.
The developer said that they will be patched in sometime in the future. Although I have to admit, the way I've been playing Snake Pass, time trials sound like a nightmare to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, unless the time trial is like, finish this in 15 minutes.
Right. Or it's like, get nothing, just get to the end.
Yeah, this is a game I would really it'll be really fun to see it be speedrunned.
Oh my god.
Because to watch somebody be really good at these controls would be really fun.
To watch someone be like precise with this game.
Yeah.
Again, we are going to talk about it later, but I play this game so sloppily.
Oh, it feels impossible to me to not play it that sloppy.
Good.
So, but yeah, so time trials coming sometime in the future.
How quick and how sloppy can you play?
Speaking of content coming sometime in the future, Super Bomberman R downloadable content is coming from Konami, and they are going to be releasing it for free. No word yet on what the DLC will include or when it'll come out.
But lots of information about how much it's going to cost, which is nothing.
Which is
good news. That was one of the knocks against. Now, neither you or I have played Bomberman R.
I was never a Bomberman person.
Me
I
neither.
never got into it.
Bomberman always seemed like one of those just like ride-along titles where it's just like, here's one more thing you can do with the system.
Yeah.
Here's Bomberman. And I don't find the design aesthetic super appealing. But if you picked up Bomberman because you were like, I need all the games, there's gonna be more content for it.
It's Miitomo's 1-year anniversary. We did it, guys. We really did it.
Has it already been a year?
Oh my! How my time with Miitomo has passed.
Is that it? I feel like Miitomo's been around forever.
Yeah, it's only been a year.
Okay.
Apparently Nintendo has planned out various activities and events to celebrate the 1-year anniversary. So there will be login bonuses, special anniversary items, contests, and much, much more.
Great.
Miitomo 1-year anniversary, everybody.
Still not on your phone anymore?
Oh, no. I can confirm it is still not on my phone.
I can confirm the same for my phone.
Fire Emblem Heroes also not on my phone.
Fire Emblem Heroes still on my phone. Super Mario Run off my phone again.
Oh, are you playing Fire Emblem Heroes?
No. It just hasn't been removed yet.
Gotcha. Little more sad news. Mad Catz filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Oh.
Now, as opposed to a Chapter
No.
11 bankruptcy, which means that they plan on restructuring and continuing to exist as an ongoing concern, Mad Catz, by filing for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, means that they're calling it quits.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean,
okay, I get it. I get where you're going here, Mark. Like, who cares? They always made the crappier controller for like the budget controller.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really think it's fair to say the crappier controller, but it was the controller that nobody ever wanted to use. It's the little brother / friend down the street controller.
Sure. Or little sister controller.
Yes.
The only place that I will push back on that is that Mad Catz also did a lot of
fighting sticks?
Fighting game
Oh, I
controllers,
knew
yeah.
you were going to come to their defense with fighting sticks.
Actually, more even than fighting sticks, because their fight sticks aren't super great. There are a lot of better manufacturers of arcade style fight sticks, but their fight pads were really good.
Wait.
So a pad, I can just explain.
Yeah.
It has the regular like D-pad.
Okay.
On the left side, and then 4 buttons or 4 buttons on top of 4 buttons, like face buttons with no triggers.
But it's the size of it's about the size of a regular controller.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's not like, because I guess when I was thinking fight stick, I was thinking like the big one you put on your lap that has like a joystick and the arcade style buttons.
Yeah. So
okay.
the like it's kind of the compromise of the two, where like you're doing all of the, because there's a big difference between like doing an input on a joystick and on a directional pad. Just in like, you've got your whole wrist doing like a Hadouken motion, and the other like you're just sort of flicking your thumb. And I think a lot of fighting game players like the convenience of being able to do all that just with your thumb, and that's sort of where the fight pad comes in. But being able to access all 6 or 8 attack buttons at once is a distinct advantage that our arcade stick players have. It's almost an identical controller to the old Sega Genesis 6-button controller. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Thing? Yeah. ABX or ABC XYZ. No other controllers had that sense.
This is partly just speculation on my part, but I wonder if part of their financial problems happened as severely as they did because they hitched their wagon to Rock Band and maybe Guitar Hero, like the latest
and
iteration of it.
I mean, like all of it. They were,
so like Street Fighter V bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the new Rock Band.
Yeah, right in the toilet.
The new Guitar Hero. So that had to have hurt.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think it's just we are, and even if they hadn't been like so connected to that, we're living in such a like post excess of accessories era. Like after having all of those Wii remotes, after having all of those plastic guitars and a plastic drum set, and your DJ Hero controller, like I don't think people want that clutter in their house anymore. Like,
yeah.
That's something that we had a taste of, and for the next couple of years at least, we're like, no thank you. I'll just have my regular controllers.
I also companies sold third-party Wiimotes, right?
Great question.
I feel like those existed. But I assume all of that stuff, maybe not, but I guess I assume, because I don't know if they were Mad Catz, but like third-party controllers for the GameCube.
Yeah.
That was the last time I remember owning those. And I'm pretty sure they existed for the Wii. Obviously they wouldn't, other than just the Wiimotes, they wouldn't exist for the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they can exist for the Switch.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it is actually, maybe this is part of it, that controllers have possibly grown too sophisticated for Mad Catz to have, or to be able to like offer a budget version of them. Like a DualShock 4 controller for the PlayStation 4 has a lot of tech in it. It's got that swipey like touch
the
screen
touchscreen thing. That's also a button, like even just like the LED light in the background.
Yeah, like there's a lot going on in that controller, and if you're missing any of those features, you're fundamentally not supplying the same like controller experience. And obviously the same is going to be true for the Joy-Cons as well. Like there's a bunch of tech in those things. And if your budget controller isn't offering all that same stuff, then it's not actually the controller.
And also maybe just because I am older now and have more disposable income, but I guess it feels to me like gaming in general has become more sophisticated, where people, instead of wanting cheaper controllers, like Xbox has, I can't remember what they call it, but like an elite controller.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like people are demanding better.
And that thing's over like $100, right?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like the buttons are clickier and like remappable or whatever.
Right.
You know, so it's like I feel like that, at least my perception of it is that's the direction that those things are moving, and all of that is controlled by the console creators.
Right. And it doesn't leave a lot of room for a company whose goal has always been more budget oriented.
Totally.
So I think we did it. We solved Mad Catz.
And I guess just in general, today that we're recording, April 3rd, is the 1 month anniversary of the Switch's release. With a little more enthusiasm this time.
Yeah, 1 month ago today, huh?
Yeah, so any thoughts on your 1 month with the Switch? Things you're liking, things you wish were a little different.
I guess just my normal complaints. I wish that the Virtual Console was in place. For as much as I am in love with Breath of the Wild, it sure would be nice to play some older games on this thing that aren't Neo Geo games, I guess. That counts, but yeah, like outside of Zelda, it doesn't necessarily feel like a very Nintendo machine to me just yet. But maybe that's a good thing, come to think of it, that like it has an identity apart from being just a Nintendo device.
I agree. It feels like the least Nintendo console in a very long time.
Yeah.
But I'm really impressed with like what a good kit it is. You know, like what like it's really solid hardware that I like using.
Yes.
I like the Joy-Cons. Like I like playing with the Joy-Con grip. Yeah,
so you, when you originally picked it up, were like, I'm just gonna get the base system, and then I'm gonna see what I need extra from there. Have you made any additional purchases?
I bought screen protectors, but I have not put it on.
Great.
And I don't do the undocking and docking a ton, but I do it on a regular basis, and so far I haven't seen any reason to put the screen protector on.
Do you take it anywhere now? Because this is something that we were both, when we started, were kind of skittish about.
I don't really take it anywhere, and that's not really because like I'm scared to take it places. Although I guess like how I would carry it is still a factor. More it's just that I feel like when I'm going places, it's rarely like I have the time to play while I'm somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the other night I was heading to UCB and the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater, and I had nebulous plans to either meet a friend for drinks before or not. And so I was like, I'll just take the Switch along, and if the friend doesn't show up, I can just play that.
I mean,
and that's perfect.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I really never took the 3DS with me anywhere either, except on the rare occasions I was like traveling on an airplane or something for long distances. But no, the one thing I am considering getting is a Pro controller, and that's only after playing, because I've been very happy playing Breath of the Wild with the Joy-Cons, but after playing Splatoon 2, the test fire, I feel like I want a Pro controller for that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I really like my Pro controller. It is when I'm playing Breath of the Wild in handheld mode, I've got no complaints. But when I'm playing it on the TV, I'm always using the Pro controller. I don't really use the grip, the Joy-Con grip. If I'm playing with the Joy-Cons, I'll just play with them separate.
Yeah, I was expecting to be able to do that, and I actually don't find it very comfortable.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
surprised at how much I don't really like doing that, especially because I thought that was going to be a selling point for me.
Right.
Um,
Turns out you play games the way you play games. It's the
Yeah.
way you've always played games.
but I'm actually not missing a virtual console that much. I am in theory, but I hate having a backlog of games.
Yeah, sure.
And I know that right now, like, I wouldn't have, like, if I bought Chrono Trigger again or I bought something, it would just be sitting there, and it would be nice to own. I would like
Right.
that feeling. It would make me happy, you know. But it's like,
and happiness is elusive. It's something we
oh,
can
it's
never...
Monday, guys. But
welcome back to Garfield Cast.
But as an actual like exercise,
Mhm.
I'm not missing them because I wouldn't be playing them.
That's a fair point. I have I Am Setsuna just sitting on there that I've barely played. So yeah, it makes sense. I almost can't get over the people who are already through Breath of the Wild, or like that seems like such a foreign state to me. Like there's just so much game there that it doesn't feel like there's any shortage of games on this thing. Even if there's really only a couple that we're talking about. But like you said, it's only been out a month. So
I think the highest praise I can give it is how like well it fits into my life.
Yeah.
And how it feels like it feels like a device that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I have, like my computer, my phone, my iPad, and it's not like I'm like, where does this fit in? It's like a game console that works how I want a game console to work for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I find myself turning to it much more than the PS4, and this is almost just because it's so fast.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
To boot up is so quick. To jump into a game is really fast. If it's like I'll put it to sleep, and then I turn it on and I'm into Zelda like immediately.
Yeah, it's usually before I even realize that I'm like playing the game again, I'm just like staring out on a beautiful vista.
And so for that reason, like initially I was like, I don't care about Netflix on this thing because I just want it to be fast. I just want it to be a game machine.
Mm-hmm.
But if they could get Netflix on here and have it be as fast as it is now, it would be my primary, like, because right now I use my PS4 for Hulu and Netflix on my TV. But if I had those things on the Switch, I would 100% use the Switch over it, but I wouldn't want to compromise the speed.
Right. Well, and so that's the thing is that it's still not super quick at like connecting to the store.
Yeah.
Like it's okay. But also sometimes I've had a couple times where it's like, oh, the store is down for maintenance right now. Like earlier today, I was gonna hop on and take a look at some of the Neo Geo titles.
There was scheduled maintenance today, though.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And that's what it popped up and said. I didn't know that ahead of time. But even when there is no scheduled maintenance, that it takes a little bit to get on there.
The store is definitely a problem.
Yeah, it is not organized in any way yet.
And it's like a little slower. There's no cart. You can't like buy, it's always been, since the Wii, it's been kind of a problem because they're sending you, it's not, it's just a web page that they're sending you to. And for some reason, it's always been kind of slow and clunky, like getting into the Wii shop.
Yeah.
And now the eShop is the same sort of way. The thing that, other than organization, and this rolls into new releases for the week, the other thing that bugs me is you have no idea what's being released outside of maybe 3 or 4 titles that are highlighted as coming soon. Like, so last week, Pikmin 2 launched on the Wii U. It's not like virtual console, it's like their Wii selections.
I mean, it's still sort of virtual console.
Would have been nice, would have been great to know. But it's none of that information seems to be available until the day of release.
Yeah, it's also super weird that kind of stuff doesn't make it over to that like little news bar. even for Switch games,
Yeah.
that it's always just like, here's the new Mario Kart trailer. It's like, okay, that's a month away. You've got games coming out right now.
Yeah, like the original Metal Slug was released on the Switch last Thursday. So apparently Hamster is doing like at least one new Neo Geo title a week. We have no idea, as far as I could tell by researching, zero clue what the one for this Thursday is. I know what the one for the April 13th is. It's going to be Samurai Showdown 4.
Great.
But that's, like, that's the 13th. It's really baffling to me how opaque indie releases on, or just the eShop in general is. Like the release schedule, finding titles, organizing, like all of that seems very haphazard right now.
How long do you think they can put off, like, giving this thing real organization? Because like right now it has none. They're just adding them in the order that they were released, right? So like Breath of the Wild, now if someone gets a Switch right now, which good luck again, they're hard to find in stores, and they want to download Breath of the Wild, they've got to scroll down through everything else past World of Goo,
past like 6 Neo Geo titles, because they were released afterward.
A brick of 6 Neo Geo titles to get to Breath of the Wild,
which is without a doubt the biggest selling point for owning a Switch at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could maybe argue that but like now everybody who's scrolling down looking for Breath of the Wild is seeing all these other titles that they maybe would have ignored otherwise.
But they're just seeing them as obstacles to the thing they want to get to.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things that feels very like they kind of threw something together
right
to get it out in time.
I'm just saying there has to reach a point where they can't have
totally
just buried.
Like, and I don't know when Nintendo is going to see that, or when they're going to actually implement a fix. No, it's all server side. That's the thing, is they could pull that trigger at any time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the other thing that I'm not, and maybe they're like considering the news section to kind of surface that content for people. You know what I mean? Because like the news section, it like has a little icon telling you that something new has been added.
Right.
Or like that it's trying to get your attention about something, and then you click on it and it has, so maybe they're trying to, that's like how they're trying to get people aware of these other things. Like there was one that's like just this past week that was like titles under $20 and things like that.
Yeah.
It's not a good solution.
No, not at all. I just feel like by the time like summer games start coming around, like Splatoon and ARMS and all that stuff, like it just has to be better presented. I mean, especially like because at that point with like Splatoon and ARMS and
Mario Kart will be out by that point.
Yeah, that these will all be games that are like these are our multiplayer, like online and local games, that like just to have them all like in one place, or have things grouped together. You bought this, you may also be interested in this, in a way that isn't just here are all the other games.
Yeah. Not to spend too much more time on this, but I never really used the Wii U eShop.
Yeah.
Did you think it was like, I can only really compare the Switches to the 3DS eShop, which was suffering from not having a lot of screen room, but did have was able to show you a lot of different content on its main page.
Yeah, I think the Wii U store was actually pretty good. That you could search for games by original platform. So like sometimes it would just be fun to go and check out the Game Boy Advance games that were available on the Wii U or the Wii games. And like on top of that, if you're like, okay, I just want to show me all the Zelda games, and it would Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, but also original Zelda. Zelda 2, and whatever other I guess Minish Cap is on there, and some other stuff. Like it would give you different ways to browse the Nintendo catalog, like by category, or more, I guess, by franchise, really. But even that is like some kind of organization. You never just went to a page where it was just like, here's a vomit pile of all the games.
It's just weird to me that they're almost like reinventing the wheel on the eShop.
They're almost uninventing the wheel.
Yeah,
right?
it just feels unnecessary to me for them to go back to square one for something like this. Maybe there's logic to it that I, with like integrating the products that I don't understand, but as a customer, it feels like a big step backwards, and I don't understand why that happened.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that this isn't like the real the online service yet. Like they haven't launched the pay model and all of that. So
right.
it's possible that they have all of that waiting to go when they launch the pay service. And it's all just cleaner.
And it's supposed to be sometime this summer that like the free beta part of it starts, right?
I don't know. I mean,
I think it is.
Something's got to be ready for the 28th when Mario Kart
comes out. I think it is. Like, I think there's some sort of like summer beta where like the app will be available, and then you won't have to pay for it till the fall.
Yeah.
But I guess that'll all remain to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see.
New releases for this week: Lego City Undercover for the Switch comes out today, the 4th, if you're listening to this today, which you
of
are.
Course you are, because you also were going to rate and review and subscribe on iTunes and tell all your friends.
And just enjoy that it's Tuesday and not Monday.
You can see the Valley of the Week before you.
$59.99 on the Switch. Graceful Explosion Machine comes out for the Switch on Thursday, April 6th.
Looks dope, by the way.
For $12.99. And on the Wii U, Animal Gods comes out on the 6th for $12.80, I think.
Man, what a weird price.
That's a Wii U game that was like, Animal Gods came out. It was, I think, a Kickstarter. It was crowdfunded. Came out in 2015 and is just now coming out on the Wii U, and is one of those things where it was like promised. So here it is.
Here it is, guys. Graceful Explosion Machine looks cool. It was one of those games featured in the Nindy Showcase a couple weeks ago, and it's looks like a just sort of one of those side-scrolly shooter games where you're a spaceship, but with a lot of cool particle effects and like a kind of cartoony art style that seems really attractive. I think I'm going to check it out. But yeah, I couldn't care less about these other games.
Great.
Are you interested in Lego City Undercover?
No, I don't know. I don't know why I feel the need to be diplomatic about games I don't care about.
Man, that's great. All right, let's move out of the news. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Today we are going to talk about hats. Mark, are you a hat guy?
No. Have you ever seen me wear a hat?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't own any.
Then it'd be weird for me to see you wearing a hat.
I don't know. Maybe I borrowed one.
Yeah,
given to me as a gift.
That's a far cry from you being a hat guy. You are a hood guy, though.
But I don't wear them. Do I? I guess I do sometimes.
You kind of like nervously flip them up.
Yeah.
Or like as an affectation sometimes. You're just like, hoods up. Yeah, so you like no baseball caps, no like knit cap or anything.
No,
that.
My head does not look good in a hat.
Interesting.
Like I would say aggressively bad.
Aggressively bad.
Yeah.
See,
like my boyfriend was like, "Oh no, you'd look like," when we were first dating. He's like, "No, you'd look good in a hat." We were at like downtown Disney or something like that, and nope, it must have been Universal City Walk. And they have like a hat store. And so he was like, "Here, just like try this on." And I put it on. And he was like, "No, you're right. You don't look good in hats."
Was it the sorting hat? Is that? Yeah, I mean, sometimes there are heads on which hats just don't make sense.
Yeah.
I am always, I don't like my hair. I've never liked my hair. I've never I've never been at peace with what my hair looks like. So I like hiding it under a hat sometimes, but nothing makes me hate my hair more than when it's been in a hat for a while. Like pulling it out of there, I look like a 2-year-old, that just woke up and like has gum in his hair.
But you have good hat head. Like a baseball cap looks good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think like a ski cap or like a knit cap also looks pretty good on me. There aren't that many opportunities to wear them in Los Angeles, but like when I lived in Chicago, I would start with the hat, right? Like as it starts to get cold, like some people will go for like jacket and then hat and then gloves. I'll go hat first, and if that's not enough, then a jacket goes on. And I've actually got a couple of hats like that. I just looked around my apartment right now as though I was going to pull out a hat and produce it and see. Do you see, Mark? Do you see this hat? And then I've got one baseball hat, which actually is in this room. It's right behind you. It's a hat that I bought at Strong Current in Hawaii during the couple months that I lived there.
I feel like baseball caps they look good on the most people.
Yeah,
I would say it's a hat of the people.
It is certainly the common man's hat. That's right. So wait, what do you do? Because I wear the baseball hat as like sort of a utility hat, like to keep sun out of my eyes.
Oh man, I wish I could do that without looking like a freak, but I can't. Sunblock. It's the only chance I stand.
What about like a visor or something? You're just staring at me like, what are you saying?
No.
Yeah. All right.
I can't imagine falling to that level. I guess if I were in the right circumstances, I would. Right? Like if I were running a half marathon,
sure,
I would consider wearing a hat. Or a visor.
Right.
If I were hosting a high stakes poker game, I would definitely wear a visor.
Right. But only if you were hosting it, not if you were.
Not if I was participating in it, no.
Right, that would just be very dark sunglasses.
Yes.
And like a fake nose.
Yeah. The one hat that looks reasonable on my head is like the paper ones that you get at In-N-Out or Krispy Kreme. And I think it's because they're very thin and I have a very svelte
You have a narrow
face.
head.
I have a very narrow head. And so it's like just having that tiny little
it's
bit
already kind of pinched.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
boat-shaped.
Exactly. It's like having a hot dog bun on your head. It looks fine for me. I think a propeller beanie I could do in a pinch.
Maybe you need like one of those Robin Hood hats with like a feather. That favors the narrow face.
That
right?
does favor the narrow face. I think you could pull off a 3-corner hat.
I could.
I think so.
Like Paul Revere or
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I have something of a wide face.
Yeah, but not like aggressively wide, just round.
Right.
In a good way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about So we've mostly discussed like utility hats. This one keeps you warm. This one keeps the sun off your face. But there are other kinds of hats.
Oh, but we'll never know.
Yes, we will never know.
But we'll never know.
We will never know. Daily Motion videos don't always tell us who is performing in them, so I'm afraid I have no idea who accompanied us.
But if you
today.
recognize yourself,
yep, congratulations. And if anyone has a performance of 433 that they would like to hear on Nintendo Cartridge Society, you can shoot us a link at Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
And with that, we are going to move on to our topic of the week. Snake Pass.
Snake Pass.
Snake Pass. Mark, what'd you think of Snake Pass?
I liked it.
I have the same answer with the same hesitation and kind of questioning turn at the end of the phrase. I liked it.
So I am only about 4, for lack of a better term, like worlds. I think maybe the game calls it domains in. The first one is just generic jungle. The second one is water or introduces water. The third one introduces fire, and the fourth one introduces air currents, and I'm in air currents right now.
So I've just finished the first one.
And so I've never played a game quite like this. I don't know if it's a platformer from the perspective of a snake, and so it has a lot of the same machinations as a puzzle game.
Yeah, I would say its DNA is more puzzle game than platformer.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that. Like, it's its own weird, kind of interesting, cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the puzzle of the game is always just how to make the character move in the way that you want him to, right?
Yes.
And the controls are, for as much as we will like say that the controls are the biggest challenge, they're also pretty simple, right? Like, you push a button to move forward, you move back and forth a little bit, and you lift your head. I guess you also grip the
yeah, see, I would say it's I agree. There's only really 4 inputs.
Yeah.
And then if you're in water, it's X to dive or whatever. Right. So there's only 4 inputs, but I don't feel like it's simple. There is an easy mode, not mode, but like easy controls.
Yeah,
that
I see that.
think you just like hold to move, and I think it takes away the swaying side, like the sidewinder aspect of it or something. But and I haven't played with that. I never felt, I'm like this far in, and I've never felt like I'm good at the controls.
Right. I would say that that's been my experience as well, that there's no point where like, even when I'm like attempting something for the third or fourth time, where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go out onto this post and like grab this thing and come back, even if I've done it the last 3 times and I'm doing it this time, there's no guarantee that I'm going to succeed this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I like this game. I like this game so much more in theory than I like it in practice.
Yeah.
But it's my experience with it has been like, I will get so frustrated that I have to walk away from it.
Yeah.
But I always want to come back to see if I can like pull it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? But let's explain a little bit about just like what the world of the game in general. And so you play as a snake named Noodle.
His name is Noodle.
And you're trying to make your way through these levels, collecting. They're like these, I can't remember what they're called in the game, but there's like these little like blue blob things.
Yeah, these little like orbs.
Yeah, little like blue orbs, some coins, and then those 2 are
optional.
Like, those are just like if you want extra challenge, and it kind of goes in the order of like
the orbs are kind of like coins in Mario.
Yeah, but they're like medium difficulty.
Yeah.
Like, there's I don't know exactly, like 25 or 30 or something of them in each level. And then there's 15 gold coins, and the gold coins are the hardest to get.
Right.
The blue ethereal orbs are like medium difficulty, and then the easiest of the 3, and the 3 that you have to get in order to complete the level, are these 3 like gems.
They're like keys to unlock the
portal.
portal.
Like an orange one, I think, a pink one, and a yellow, or green one, a pink one, and a yellow one.
So they may be the easiest, but only because there's only 3 of them.
Yeah,
right?
they're easiest in the sense that they're what the game directs you to get.
Right.
They're like, it's like, oh, you see it and you're like, oh, I have to figure out how to make my way up here. And so in that way, they're the easiest, whereas the other ones are kind of hidden, and you would have to go searching for them, and you don't know where they're located.
Right. Or go out on like weird little, like there are a lot of times where you're like going along your path, and you're like, oh, I can see one of those blue orb things, but it's like I can see where it's in a treacherous, where like the game is just sort of like tempting you to try something difficult, and then like come back on the main path and continue on.
And you have a little hummingbird friend, companion, that's with you, and you can press Y to have the hummingbird grab your tail, and that'll sometimes help you, because if you're dangling off of something with just like your head,
Right.
the weight of the rest of your body will pull you down, and this will help
he can
you
help
like
alleviate that.
stabilize.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we can talk a little bit more about like what the controls mean in relation to like the physicality of the snake. Which is one of the things that this game does better than like almost any other game I've played, is that you feel the physicality of this creature, right? That like you're driving it with its head, and where you've like the path that you've cut with it, your body occupies that space. And when you're wrapping around like a pole or climbing something or just trying not to fall off a cliff, like it matters where your head is and where your body is, and like making one lead to the other is initially really unintuitive. But like the more you play it and the more like you get used to it, the more it makes a lot of sense and can kind of be empowering. But it's something that you always have to be aware of.
Totally. And that's what makes it unique is,
Mhm.
like all these levels are fairly like if you were Mario, you'd be able to solve it incredibly quickly.
Yeah.
The challenge is being like, okay, I have such limited mobility.
Mhm.
So how do I maneuver myself through these obstacles? And it's usually like bamboo sticks that is how you like drape yourself on or pull yourself up,
Or coil yourself
like coil
around.
yourself around. And then there's also switches and that you have to like pull in order to make things happen. And
No enemies in this game.
yeah, no enemies.
Everything is just environmental. That it's just you against the environment.
Now there's a hint of a story throughout it where like at the end of every world there will be like a shadow of a bird, or you see a close up of like this big like dark bird like thing, and your little hummingbird friend is like, what was that? It's like there's something out there. So I think it's building to something. I don't necessarily think like a boss battle, but I think it is building to something.
Right.
But I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm not crazy. I think the game looks good.
Yes.
Like I have only played it since the patch for the Switch was released, which I guess like corrected some small graphical things and fixed HD rumble problems they were having.
It was a little like Vaseline-y looking before. And I think that's what the patch addressed.
And I feel like it still is a little bit when you're playing in handheld mode. But yeah, in general, I think the game looks good. I'm not crazy about like the character design, but it's not bad. It feels a little sub-rare to me.
Yeah, I get that. And it's also a little bit weird to me that the hummingbird doesn't have the same sort of aesthetic as like the hummingbird looks like a hummingbird. And the snake looks like a cartoon snake that was in Banjo-Kazooie, you know?
Yeah.
I do like the personality of the snake, that he's like kind of dopey.
Oh, absolutely.
Like he's a big dummy.
And there's one little detail that I liked a lot is one of the hints in the loading screen was that you can use the not the D-pad, like the directional buttons.
Yeah, it's basically a D-pad.
Yeah, the directional buttons to change his facial expression.
Yes.
So he has like 4 little, like one where he's like like dopey happy, one that he's like worried, one that he's a little like sinister.
It's dopey in all of these.
Yeah.
Dopey sinister, dopey sad. Yeah.
And that's really fun, and I love that attention to detail. Like this is a game that had a lot of like it has a lot of like thought put into it, and again, it's something I've never played before.
Yeah.
My main frustration with the game comes like I feel like I'm always fighting either the controls or the camera.
Oh, I wish that camera were smarter. So as it stands, the camera is completely manual, right? Like there's no
it will dynamically shift, but it does it in times or in like ways that are slow and frustrating to me. Like
I want it to be smarter and more dynamic. Like there are lots of times where I'm like going down a little bamboo thing where I'm already precariously above like a pit or something, and I just need to be able to see like where this next thing is, and I wish the camera would know that, would recognize where I am and where I'm trying to get to, and just like give me a little bit more like if I'm going around a corner and suddenly the camera is behind me instead of just to the side, I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, the camera can be really frustrating, and because the controls are elaborate,
yeah,
like you have your fingers on so many buttons.
Yes, have you ever done this thing where you like use your other hand to like jam the camera stick?
Yeah, because like basically what you do is you especially if you are dangling precariously, to kind of balance yourself and try to get to the next piece of bamboo, you almost have to always be holding A to keep your head up.
Mm-hmm.
And
holding the go forward button to like keep his momentum.
Yeah.
But also holding the grip button. So you're at this point you're holding the left trigger, the right trigger, and A.
And the way that you're holding controllers is that your other fingers are wrapped behind it, basically gripping it. And so I never really found a good solution. Yours would, like, using my other hand to try to control the camera would work. But inevitably, what I would end up doing is I'd have to release A or something,
right,
to try to move the camera around the corner and try to do that fast enough, and then jam A again so I don't lose the balance, momentum, grip, all that stuff. But what would inevitably happen is because the camera movement is slower than I want it to be, I would just always die.
Fall off. Yeah.
So I always and I never felt. I still don't feel in control. Like when things happen, I feel like I'm always like winging it. Like I'm able to accomplish it, but I've given up on getting the coins or all the blobs because I don't care enough, and the controls are frustrating to me. I don't have the finesse to pull those off.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean I'm like I said, just barely, or just at the end of that first like world or domain or whatever it's called, and I have long since given up on the idea of 100%ing any of these levels. I kind of just, there's enough challenge in just traversing them as it is. Like playing these games like those old-fashioned rare collectathons seems like the wrong way to go about playing this game. Like I kind of don't want a challenge beyond just collecting the three main things.
And it's interesting to me that the presentation is so cute and cartoony and inviting.
Yeah.
Because the game is, I feel like, brutally difficult.
Yeah.
Like from the kind of confusing control scheme to the like actual physics of the way the snake moves.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not something I would give my nephew to dink around with.
It's also the game is weirdly unforgiving in like how it when you do fail, because like there aren't lives or anything in this game. You just like respawn at the checkpoint, but the checkpoints there are too, I don't know, they're too like stingy with them in the game.
They're physical, so you have to physically move across like a symbol on the ground, and then it lights up, and that means you've hit a checkpoint. So if you die, you'll be returned to that, but not just that physical location, the collectibles.
Yes.
So anything you get, any of the collectibles you get between checkpoints,
you have
if
to
you
do
die,
again.
They're all gone, which it can be frustrating when you are like, oh, I pulled off this maneuver.
Right.
Like I finally grabbed that like pink square but I die.
Right. Yeah, and it's, I mean, like I understand where like they wouldn't want you to be able to like just make your way out onto a precarious post and like grab a thing, die, and then like respawn and still have the thing. Like there is something to be said for you have to get there and get back. But I almost wish that you could, or the game would automatically like autosave just anytime you're on solid ground.
Right, like right before you head out to that ledge, basically.
Yeah. And I also it takes just a little bit longer than I want it to respawn me. This game feels like the kind of game that should not really punish you for failing, because failure is such a frequent state.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things it says is don't be afraid to explore. But the lack of a, to me, satisfying checkpoint system does prevent me from wanting to explore. Because there are points in a map, even though I'm not going after the orbs, I'm like, I wonder if I'm supposed to go over here.
Yeah.
Or like, I wonder if I do go over here, if that there is something like a reward for doing so. But I never want to. Right. Because I'm so worried about losing my progress.
Right. And then Noodle will just fall off the stage with like his mouth open going like, wah! which is adorable, of course.
Yeah.
And dopey. But yeah, it can be frustrating to like lose your progress there and then do something that was sort of frustrating you in the first place again.
Yeah. The most fun I'm having with the game is when I feel like I can improvise a solution.
Yes.
Because there are moments where I'm like, I don't think I was supposed to get it this way, but I wasn't breaking the game doing it. I was just like, I didn't see whatever bamboo or switch it wanted me to get, so I just kind of like use the physics to wiggle my way, up like a stone column or something.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of that too, where like you can just sort of muscle your way up a lot of things, and so like it is. Yeah, it does feel like there is a lot of improvisation in this.
And when there isn't is when I find myself the most frustrated. When it's like there's one solution to this, and if you don't pull it off the way that we designed it to be pulled off, then you're just stuck. And I find those sections to be the most frustrating. Like there's one I think it's like the first or maybe it's one of the last fire stages where there are two switches and you like coil them around so the camera locks completely into place, like you can't move it at all.
Yeah.
And there are two switches that you have to turn these three like columns to line up. And I wasn't sure what I was doing. Like I was just spinning it, but but I didn't know what the game wanted me to do, but it was clear that it wanted me to do something.
Yes.
Because I couldn't move the camera, so I couldn't see what else was supposed to be going on. So it was okay, clearly I'm supposed to line these up in some way, but there was no feedback, there was no anything to tell me if I'd done it correctly, which I guess you could argue was part of the challenge, but to me was just like it was too opaque.
Sure. Well, and also, like you say, is if not unique, then atypical for the game to request a specific solution to a problem, where most other keys and orbs and coins you can get through various methods of approach, instead of having to unlock in one and only one way. Mark, how do we feel about the music in this game? Because we were recently raving about David Weiss. Is that his name?
Yeah.
His score for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I almost said Returns. And he is back in this game. Any thoughts or impressions on that?
The favorite music track for me so far is World 2. And so this is a game where it has one piece of music, one composition per world.
Yeah, it's not super dynamic like the Donkey Kong Country.
Right, and even each level inside the worlds all use the same theme. Yeah. And I feel the same way I felt about Tropical Freeze, where like the first world I thought like visually isn't that interesting. It's just like generic cartoony jungle.
Yeah.
The music I don't think is particularly interesting. World 2, I found myself like that. I found that music so ingrained in my head that like I woke up one morning with it. You know how you just sometimes have like songs that were like in like your subconscious. Like it's one that I just like have in there now. So the music is really it's like it's good. It's fun. World 2 has been my favorite. To me, the music is where it shows that it's towing the line at like it's a $20 title.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's clear that there's a limited number of compositions.
Yeah.
And I don't say that like it being a $20 title as a knock against it, because I think it's a great price for this game. I think it's really well priced because I think it's fun, but I do think it's, a little bit of a budget title.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a budget title, but if you really want to sink a lot of time and give yourself extra challenge, like you have that option. It's all in there.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I mean, mostly just in like the presentation.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
But
sometimes I do wish that I could just turn into Banjo or turn into Mario and just run around the levels. Like there is a little bit of that that aesthetic, and what looks like a platformer does sometimes make me wish I could just like celebrate freedom of movement, and this game is anything but freedom of movement. It's very restricted movement,
and it's what makes this game. But and as much as I like get frustrated, I do always want to come back to play more.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what it boils down to is I would love to see all of this refined in a Snake Pass 2.
Yeah,
like I encourage people, if it looks interesting to you, I encourage people to buy this game because I've enjoyed it for what it is. But it feels like it needs more polish, like it needs more refinement. Like I feel like the controls need to be refined more, the cameras need to be refined more.
Yeah, definitely the camera.
Just to make it, I don't want approachable to be like a dirty word to make it sound like dumbed down or anything, but I do think that the whole thing could stand to be a little more approachable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this feels in a lot of ways like, or for me, one of my first like associations playing this game was playing the first couple Resident Evil games, because it has that, like, you have a walk forward button, and walk forward depends on which direction your character is facing, and so like, you know, that's sort of separate from the camera. Like tank control feels very accurate for Noodle, and I always sort of like that with Resident Evil, possibly because that's like the only option we had at the time. But like universally, people are like, oh yeah, Resident Evil 4 is like how a Resident Evil game should play, should control. So I wonder if there is like a similar kind of refinement that could make it, I guess, just more approachable. I think that's probably the right word for that. I wonder what we mentioned the time trials before, right? That sounds so stressful.
Oh man, like, I can't even imagine.
I can't imagine it being like fun in any way.
Yeah, I do think it's 100% likely that I'm not playing this game how it's meant to be. Like I'm obviously don't have the finesse with these controls. I don't know that I'm using grip correctly. I don't know if I'm, like I have found a way. To me, it feels like holding chopsticks, where I know that I'm not doing it correctly because I never learned the right way to do it.
But you're doing something.
But I found a method that works
food is
for
getting
me.
In your mouth.
Yeah, and that's how I feel with these controls, where it's like I'm positive that somebody who really understands these controls could like really find finesse in their movements.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like a blunt instrument that I'm like, I can get it to work,
right?
But
it ain't pretty.
But it's not pretty.
Well, great. I think that pretty accurately summarizes our experience with Snake Pass. So certainly something unique and worth checking out. Have you done it both on the TV and handheld, and do you have a preference?
No, I don't. I actually think, again, like one of the nice things about the Switch is it works. For me, it works great either way.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is something that I like about playing it in handheld mode, like just being that close to the screen. I feel like makes me think I have more control over like this character that's right in front of me. For whatever reason, the physical space between me and the TV separates me just like a little bit more, and it makes it a little bit harder for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And part of it is I feel like up close I am seeing more detail.
Yeah.
In the sense that like I feel like sometimes, again, going back to the camera, like I wish I had more, like I could pull out further so I got a better sense of the geography of the level, and so I could see where the different things, like the different keys were.
Yeah.
That I needed to head towards. And I think it's a like a choice to make it be very close to Noodle at all times, because then it's like you're getting that snake perspective.
Yeah.
But I just wish I had I could zoom out more, like direct the camera where I really wanted to see. And for some reason I feel like when it's in handheld mode I can see those details better, but I think that's just because I'm literally physically closer to the screen.
You just get all up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for whatever reason having the screen in your hand makes you feel more at one with the snake, for sure.
Be at one with the snake.
Be at one with the snake. Oh, that's very good. Mark, let's move out of this topic. Now's the point in the show when we would answer a reader-listener question, but I haven't checked our email.
You're scared of the Sonic porn, and I do not blame you.
Thank you. I like having my fears validated.
That's the human experience.
Yeah, of being afraid of Sonic porn.
Absolutely.
But if you have any questions or your own experiences with Snake Pass or even other games on the Switch that we haven't been talking about.
Yeah, like Has Been Heroes came out this week,
Mhm.
and I'm really curious to hear from people who have picked it up and what their impressions of it are.
Yeah, and I mentioned World of Goo earlier. That is on there along with a couple other games by the same publisher, the Human Resource Machine and
Little Inferno.
That's right, Little Inferno. So if anyone is playing any of those and you have any impressions or want to tell us about them, you can send us an email to Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
Or, if you have any other questions or comments for us, we love the feedback in any way, shape, or form. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at NinCart Society or check out the Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Of course, we would love it if you would rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes and tell your friends and all that good stuff. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, you can check out our reviews of comic books on retconpunch.com. Oh, here's the thing. Mark and I are part of the Dungeoneers Union. I can't say the name of any of our shows. Nintendo Cartridge Society and Dungeoneers Union, which is a D&D show that we're doing on Twitch with a bunch of other people. It's Tuesday nights at 7. We won't be doing one
7
tonight,
Pacific.
7 Pacific. Yes, thank you. We won't be doing one
The 4th.
on the 4th. But we'll be back on the 11th, and our first couple episodes are available on YouTube as well. Mark is playing a halfling named Chub, who is a folk hero and likes to yell his own name heroically. If any of this sounds too nerdy for you, just ignore it. Pretend we're not talking right now. But if you want to watch us play D&D, it's been fun so far. So you can check that out on Twitch and YouTube. Comic books, retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music was provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can check out more of his music on 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, be one with the snake. Thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?